What it do, party people? Episode 3 time. I had the privilege of talking to my friend, psychotherapist Janet Whitney, about the effects of music on the brain and basically the brain in general. Cool episode. Got a little bit too personal, but whatever. I hope you enjoy it, and yeah, let's get into it. Go.
All right.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for doing this again. Uh, uh, like I was saying, the idea here is just to have a conversation about the mental benefits of music. And I'll start that off with a little bit of a story about me growing up. So first and foremost, thank you, Jennifer, for being here.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. Yeah,
Cool.
always nice to
Um,
see you.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been a huge part of my life, a lot. What I appreciate about you is when I was working at that rehab, and you had, what is it, like just a bunch of other professionals getting together, sharing ideas and
Networking meeting. Yeah, a
networking
networking.
meeting. You were so kind about that to let me in because I went from, you were just very kind.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm not going to get into the exact details because patient client confidentiality. But I mean, I grew up in a wonderful home with a mom that was doing the best she could and the stepdad doing the best he could, and two great brothers, and I was the middle kid. And growing up, I've always felt like, my older brother does everything first and coolest. And the younger brother did everything kind of cutest. You know what I mean? And for
Totally.
me, yeah, and for me, I was just trying to find a voice. And by no fault of anybody else's, I couldn't find a voice until someone put a guitar in my hand.
Um,
It's kind of weird, and I'm going to tell you something that I haven't done in a platform like this at all. Um, this is actually very transparent. When I transferred from Westminster to my hometown, I went to Dwyer School, and someone said, "Hey, I want to be in a band," and I think I'm 13 or something at the time, and I said, "Wow, well, guess what? I can play guitar." And at that very moment that I said those words, I've never touched a guitar in my life. So I lied through my teeth saying, yes. Basically, I feel like what I was saying was, love me, make me feel like I'm a part of. And it was just a hell of a thing because I had to find out how to play guitar really well, really quickly. And in the process of doing that, I realized, wow, this is an amazing thing, and there's so much I can do. I can share my anger with this. I can share my love with this. I can share my thoughtfulness with this, and then add words to it. Game over. So obviously that was 30 years ago. I've kept on it like addictively on music, and it's changed my life. And today I'm doing this as for a living, and I really felt like I found my purpose because I have a lot of people from the ages of 7 to like 70, of people who are intimidated and not really interested, not really sure that they can do this thing, be it banjo, guitar, whatever it may be. And what I love about it is they go from being frustrated to, at the end of maybe 4 or 5 classes, thinking, oh, I could do this. And all of a
hmm.
sudden there's empowerment, you know and I'll give you, for instance, there's this one kid right now that when I first met him a couple of weeks ago was super shy. I think he was 7 or 8. He was super duper shy, and next thing I know, I get a video from his mom saying, here's his song, Do Your Ears Hang Low, and he's playing it, and he's playing it with conviction, he's playing it with attitude, and he had a great time with it, and he sounded great. And you can just see his demeanor go from like to like, oh my god, look what I just did. And to have people who I don't know sing to me online. It's
Oh,
just been a tremendous, yeah.
wait, how did they sing to you online? How did they do that?
Well, okay, so the way it's set up is I tell them, or I ask them, what do you want to learn? What style of music? And they tell me. And so, for instance, this lady wanted to learn Suffragette City by David Bowie. And so she's sitting there playing it, and part of my process is I have them see the lyrics, and the way the lyrics are, the guitar chord is on a certain word in the lyrics. So it kind of gives them an idea of the timing, because if they can remember how the words go and the rhythm of the words, they can say, oh, I should change a chord here, and I should change a
Yeah,
chord here. So she's like, what do you want me to do? Sing to you? I'm like, well, yeah, if you feel comfortable with me enough, do it. And she did it.
very cool. Very cool. You're changing people's lives. You're changing their energy, and that's what music does, right?
Yeah, yeah. Do you have experience that with with what you do? Well, first of all, what do you do?
I'm a psychotherapist, and I've written a book called Facing Your Fears and Following Your Dreams. So I've worked with companies, I've worked with groups, I work with families, I work with couples, I work with individuals, and I love what I do. It's just natural and a part of me, like you are with music. And my experience with music, I don't play a musical instrument. I remember taking clarinet lessons, organ
Yeah.
lessons, but I sing whenever I can. I just and I it's better if I don't sing around other people, but people will laugh if I sing, but it's really fun. I think I remember the power of music when I was running marathons, and at about the 20-mile mark, a lot of times they would play the Rocky song, na na na, like that. And no matter how tired I felt, I saw everybody perk up. And as I realized that music creates motivation, it
Yeah.
creates energy, it creates all sorts of things that can heal and motivate a person. So I think music is incredible, and that was my first experience. I remember, no, even training for a marathon, I'd sing a song in my head as I'm running the miles, and it would keep me going, like Climb Every Mountain or Only You, or just songs that would entertain me as I was running.
Yeah. What is it? What's happening that makes people think? I mean, I can see it having no energy while you're running, and then you hear a song, and next thing you know, your body found that energy. What's
So
happening?
So it's really interesting, Chris, is that they're finding out every emotion we have. There are neopeptides in our brain, and our brain cells are also in our heart. That every emotion stores those neopeptides, and we want those neopeptides going through us. We don't want it to lock them up. So, say you're feeling angry or you're
Right.
feeling stressed or any of those things. If we hold on to that, it's really bad for our bodies. But if we release it, they flow through us. So movement does that, music does that, laughter does that,
Yeah.
loving does that. And so it's changing the flow of the energy. And
Okay.
also there are neurotransmitters in our brain. So if you're singing or playing music, you get more dopamine, you get more serotonin. Those are relaxing hormones, so that you can relax and just be yourself and not be thinking of performance. Am I going to run this thing in under 4 hours, or whatever your goal might be? and
Yeah.
and so you just become the person you are. You flow with life. Yes.
Yeah. So neopeptides, is that
And
NEOPIPPE?
PEPTIDES. And
Okay.
it's something that I've just recently been learning about myself. We're discovering so many things about the brain. So here you have this brain that we try to concentrate on. And now they're finding, I think it's like 60,000 brain cells within our hearts. And so if we bring our energy down to our hearts, we have the combination of heart energy and brain energy, instead of just this logical part that our society always is going up to our brain. And we're reaching this new dimension. It's called the fifth dimension. Remember that group that was out
Yes.
years ago? So
Yes.
as we enter this fifth dimension, we have to be in our hearts. So we're training ourselves to come down here. The fact that scientists found brain cells at such a great level in our hearts has been wonderful. So
Yeah.
I'm training people, go to your heart, put your hand on your heart, feel your heart. I don't think we can go wrong if we make decisions from our hearts.
Yeah. How do you do that? How do you know when you're making decisions from your heart?
So I will talk to my, touch my heart and say, I want to travel to Spain. And then I'll say, I don't want to travel to Spain. And I
Ah,
can feel my heart go down when I say, I don't want to travel to Spain. I want to go to Spain. I love
yeah.
Spain. So I can feel the difference if I'm touching my heart. Other times, big decisions like I want to get married, I don't want to get married, things like that. It's really nice to listen to what your heart has to say.
We do the same thing here. Ours is you put your hand out, and if it's true, your hand will stay up, and if it's not, it'll come down a little bit.
Right. The muscle testing. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny
Yeah.
because I try that myself, and I think I'm going to be skeptical about it, and I'll have her. Usually it's Amber. I'll have her do the negative thing first because in my mind, I'm strongest the first time.
Hmm.
And so I'll do the negative thing first, or I'll do the positive thing first, depending on my mood. And I tell you, it's worked pretty much every time.
That's so cool. Have you ever done the crystal on a string where you hang a crystal at the bottom
No.
of a string? Let me go show you.
Like
And
legitimately a crystal?
so a crystal like this on a string, and
Yeah.
then you can say, crystal, which direction is yes? And it starts spinning and it goes in the direction. See, it's going back and forth like that.
Yeah.
It's starting to go back and forth.
Yeah.
And so it will do that for yes, and you can ask it. So my son, he was 3 years old and I was pregnant, and I said, Jeffrey, do you think we're having a girl or a boy? And he said, I think it's a girl. So I asked the crystal, is it a girl? Is it a girl? And it said yes. So we went to the doctor for the ultrasound, and the doctor said, do you want to know if it's a boy or a girl? And Jeffrey goes, well, we already know it's a girl. And it was.
Yeah. And it was.
So yeah.
That's
And
cool. Is
yeah.
it
So the
just a
crystal
normal
walk.
crystal?
Yeah, you can use any crystal on a string. I'm trying to think if I have more around here, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
very fun to use that. It's like the muscle testing.
Yeah.
It's energy. We're just energy, and so that's why music works. I was thinking about the Hopi Indian culture. They do not have words for past or future. They live mindfully in the present. And they use, if you look at American Indians or any Indians, they use music all the time. It's been tradition forever. And every culture has music and dancing and drums and instruments. Think about it.
Yeah.
It's been a way of communicating since mankind got together. And when you don't have things to worry about the past or worry about the future, you get to live right in the here and now. And
Yeah.
I would love to go visit and hear their music, because their music is very much like bringing it in, because they're not going backwards or forwards like we do on the
Yeah.
planet. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I got
So
a question for you. Why is it good? I want to keep it on track too, because I think this is a pretty open-ended question. Why, I guess that is there a technical definition as to why we need to learn something new?
why we need to learn something new?
Yeah, for instance, why is it good to learn guitar, clarinet, piano? Why is it good to learn a trade?
Yes, and so studies have shown that the three ways you can prevent dementia are learn a new
Yeah,
language, move to a new location so that you're always having to find new routes to the store to get gasoline, whatever, running, whatever. And the third way is learning a musical instrument, because
yeah.
it's stimulating different parts of your brain. And the auditory part of your brain is next to memory, and so it increases memory and concentration. So
Oh,
when you're using, I know, isn't that wonderful? So
yeah,
when you're singing, when you're playing a musical instrument, you're automatically stimulating that part of the brain that increases memory and concentration. And what do we need in our world right now when people are so stressed? They're not remembering anything. They're not able to concentrate. Go sing, go play the guitar, go to play the
yeah,
piano, and it'll help.
yeah,
Um, when it, and I think when I was talking about the American Indian population, I was also thinking about Rwanda, when the genocide that was going on there, and all the people who were murdered. They sent people from the United States to go counsel and help these people down in Rwanda. And they would sit around and try to talk to the therapist. And as a group, they got up and said, why are we doing this? Why aren't we singing and dancing? That's the
Yeah.
only way we'll feel better. And they taught us as therapists so much to realize that sometimes just talking about things it is not the best thing. It really is.
Yeah.
Let's go sing, let's go dance, let's go swim in the ocean, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was at a hardcore concert with my buddy Travis a couple of months ago, and it's angry sounding music. It just is. It's hardcore. And I tell you, I how do I say this? The experience of going to a hardcore concert, a good one at least, is weird because audibly you're hearing super angry music, but when you're looking at it visually, you're seeing the singer and the guitar player. They have synchronized, they twirl their guitars, they do jumps, they've been practicing obviously quite a lot, right? But there's a lot of smiles. And all of these people in the audience, you got some of these a-holes out there who are doing what's called slam dancing, which is just, which I guess in a way is rhythmic beating people up. But almost every single person was smiling.
Yeah.
What is that? What is it about angry music? I guess for me, when it comes about angry music, I'm given the opportunity to share basically my level of anger.
Right. So anger is a very natural emotion, Chris.
Right.
And I think we as a culture equate anger with violence. Anger is, hey, somebody stepping on my
Yeah.
toes, whether it's a tough mother, father, brother, sister, whatever it is, and it doesn't feel good. So I need to change something. So anger is a motivator. And if we can be comfortable with our anger, violent movies are great because they at times let you act out anger or frustration that might have been buried down there from childhood. It's the same with angry music. Our
Yeah.
culture recently has realized that angry music has a place right now. And
Yeah.
it's the years of, think of our ancestors, man, they only survived because they were angry enough to kill. If you think of
Sure.
hundreds and thousands of years ago. So it's in our DNA. It's not a bad thing. We just have to learn how to deal with it. And I thank goodness for angry music. Thank goodness for violent movies. I know that sounds
Sure.
terrible, but I think let's realize that it kept us alive, and we would not be on the planet if we didn't have angry ancestors that kept us alive.
Yeah. That's very
Yeah,
true.
that's very
That's very
true.
true.
I love to see people use their anger to create something. And so when you use your music and you said you were lost, like the middle child. Most therapists are middle children. We know what it's like not to have that voice. But there's also a sense of frustration, like, hey, I matter here too,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that can motivate you to go create. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. There's that part of me that, yeah, I teach people how to play music, guitar, whatever. But there's that part of me that wants to have that song that matters. One of my favorite bands ever is Pearl Jam, and anybody and
Oh
everybody that's
yes.
listening, yeah. And my first time experiencing those guys, they had a song called "Alive." And it came from a very, very angry place, but I've been listening to that song for 30 years now. And now it went from, this angry place to this very inspired place. No longer is it, oh, I'm alive, but you're dead and I'm so angry. Now it's more like, wow, I've made it and I'm alive. It's,
I hear that. I get that. I totally get it. Even Elvis Presley, he had a song about to dream, and to dare to dream about how amazing we can be as people. But I
yeah,
know what might have motivated him is, like, we're containing ourselves all the time. Why not let this energy that can be used to save the world or help others or inspire others, let it come out. Let it come
yeah,
out of us in whatever way that we need to let it come out.
Yeah,
Not
'cause
with guns or hurting each other, but in creative ways.
yeah, well, and at the end of the day, I mean, I guess we as people don't have a choice with how we feel. But if we keep that feeling inside, it manifests into something else, you know. And if it doesn't go unchecked, if it goes unchecked, then maybe abuse happens, maybe violence happens, maybe, you know. I tell you, I'm thinking in my head all these questions I want to ask you, and I don't know of a way to keep this unpolitical. You know, I don't want it to get political because that doesn't really matter. You know, but maybe it does. I'm
Okay,
not sure. So, but
let's try it. Let's try it and see if we
well,
can keep it non.
well, let's see where it goes. I just, you know, what I want to say, how's business? What are you seeing a lot of recently? You know, I look at these things and I just look at all these very angry people, and everybody's like, I shouldn't wear a mask. You should wear a mask. I want my decision. I want my whatever it may be. You know, I tell you, and maybe this is a little bit disjointed, and the listeners just get to enjoy this ride, but but you know, I tell you, the one thing I love about music, one of many things I love about music, is how honest it can be, which is ironic because this thing started because of a lie that I wanted to be accepted. But I look at these people, you know, and they're just angry and they're opinionated and they have all these things that they want to push on us, you know. And there's so many ways I want to express myself, and I can't help but think the way I feel, other people feel the same way. There's so many ways I want to express myself, but I don't know how to, you know. And there's so many times I try to put the words and have them come out. But if you give me a guitar, and now next thing you know, there's a pretty good chance you have an understanding of how I feel. And so I
Right.
guess if go ahead.
So it's a unifier, Chris, because if you
Yeah.
took, like say we take the two parties, which, you know, really, I don't know if they're really only two parties, but you have Democrats and Republicans, you put them in a concert like you were at, or wherever they're at a
Yeah.
dance and they're dancing, all of a sudden the political differences go away and we're not thinking about fear and anger. We're thinking of how do we unite in this beautiful
Yeah.
sound, in the beautiful music. And
The
so I
agenda's
absolutely
changed.
think, right, the energy changes.
Yeah.
Uh, Energetically, what's going on in higher up places is to instill fear in us. And as fear gets bigger, then anger gets bigger because we get afraid. And as we get afraid, we think, who's the enemy? It's not, any of us
Right.
don't want to be each other's enemy, but it's being set up like that. So what you're doing with your music is making a bridge. What I'm doing with therapy is making a bridge.
Yeah.
I really don't care if somebody is Republican or Democrat. I want to help them feel better,
Yeah.
right? And that's probably the same with you. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think about these people whose mental health goes unchecked, like these people who shoot up schools. You know, these people who decide, yeah, that's a good idea to beat up my kids or beat up my wife or whatever it may be. I wonder what that thing in the brain that says that's a good idea, you know?
Right. So the part of the brain's, you know, in some people, it's been so damaged that the joy and the happy center can't even be set off. And so it's that dark energy that we may touch on, you know, when we're frustrated, angry, lonely, some of these sad, but their brains have been consumed with this. And so then
Yeah.
there's no other outlet. Now imagine that they were in your home where you're playing music, your kids are dancing, your wife's singing or whatever. I think eventually it takes over. Did I ever tell you the story? And I know this isn't about music, but I think it's
Whatever.
about who we are. Okay. So
Yeah.
when I was in school 100 years ago, they taught this story about how you could raise a neurotic monkey. Have I told you this at all?
No.
So what happened is they would take this monkey away from its mother at birth and have it raised by an iron monkey that only had cloth over it and a bottle stuck to it. So it had no touch, no comfort, no warmth.
Right.
And that monkey would grow up pulling on its fur and biting itself and attacking other monkeys. It just didn't know how to be comforted, how to feel okay.
Right.
And they took that monkey and put it in with other monkeys that were not raised that way, that were healthy monkeys. And at first that crazy monkey would bite and scratch and attack. But after 6 months of being loved by the normal monkeys, you could not tell the difference between those monkeys anymore. The love of one another, the
Yeah.
love, the condition of being close. That's why we need connection in spite of what's going on today. We need to connect, and music connects us. Music connects us to our soul, to our history, to our positive emotions, and to
Yeah.
one another.
Well, yeah, and I'm obviously not educated like you are about this, but I keep thinking about, growing up in the 90s or the 80s, listening to songs that remind me of a circumstance that's happening. I guess I'd probably carry that into where I am today and experience that all over again. I mean, I guess one of the songs that we have with my family that we love to sing to each other is a song called Just Breathe by
Oh,
Pearl Jam, you guessed it.
oh,
But it's a sweet thing. It's like, hey, have I told you that I loved you? Well, if I haven't, I'm a fool, and I definitely love you.
that
Kind
is
of
so
sweet.
cool.
It's
That
sweet,
is so
yeah.
sweet. That is so sweet. I have clients that follow Pearl Jam. They go,
Oh
well,
yeah,
not now, but when they were going to all their concerts all over the world. It was like
yeah,
groupies that were
yeah,
very successful people, but they love Pearl Jam. So
yeah.
that's really true.
One of the sweetest things that ever happened was, I guess that's it. So I guess one of the sweetest things that ever happened was I was away again. This is when I was traveling with the real estate company that I worked with, and I was feeling kind of lonely because I mean it was 2 weeks out of the month that I was gone, or maybe it was a week out of the month. It was a week out of the month, and it kind of got repetitive. And this particular time, my daughter was maybe 4 or 5 at the time, and my wife took a picture of Samantha washing the inside of the shower, just washing it down. And in her really cute voice, she was doing, "Did I say that?" The Just Breathe song. And I got all teary eyed, and it's so funny. I live in a culture where that's not okay to cry, and I'm here like,
Uh-huh.
just being all silly about it. So I got a question. Here's the deal, right? I mean, we have all this unconnected, uh, um, unconnectivity. We're not connected as a group, as a
Right.
community, a tribe. How do we fix that? How do what's the? I mean, because I mean, here's the deal: you've either got TV or the news, which is an agenda, you know, or you've got. How do we fix that when we have all these? I'm going to edit this part because I'm not sure what I want to say. I have so many things I want to talk to you about too. It's just I don't know if it pertains to this exactly or not. Because okay, we start out being sung to by our mom,
Mhm.
right? Maybe dad. But I remember when my kids were born and Amber was singing them songs, you know, and there's a part of me that didn't necessarily have that, and I don't understand it, right? Again, I'm not saying bad or sad or happy or whatever. It's just here's one experience, here's one thing, here's one personality, and here's another. And a mom, this woman, she wants to sing to her children to help soothe them. So in a sense, that's the first song we've ever heard,
Right.
right?
Right.
What is happening as a child? Maybe you can't answer this, but what's happening as a child when I hear my mom sing to me that makes me think, oh, okay, everything's okay.
Right, right. So you know that babies recognize their mother's voices as soon as they come out of the womb. So there's already been a connection of hearing her voice, and that voice. So it's basically the universe for this baby was inside this mother's body,
Right.
and that was safety. Nothing bad was happening when they were protected like that. Then they come into this cold, bright light, cruel, world, and it's like, oh my god. But that voice comes back in a melody. So when you're doing the melody part,
Yeah.
it's producing that serotonin and dopamine that I talked to you about when you have
Yeah.
that music.
Yep.
And so they're relaxing and having their mother's voice. And truly, it's almost like anybody could sing to you, and it starts to feel better to hear the song. Um, uh, i i was at Trader Joe's the other day, and I love that they have old music because I like the oldies but goodies. And I started walking down the aisle singing a song, and then the guy next to me heard it. He started singing the song, and so yeah. So music is infectious, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, and it's just very comforting because of
Yeah.
the neurotransmitters that are released.
Well, and like you said, the energy or the
Yeah.
frequency, isn't the positive frequency 432
Oh,
megahertz?
I didn't know that, but it might
It
be.
is. Yeah, it is. And John Lennon's Imagine,
Oh,
supposedly, I'm not sure, was recorded at 432.
oh, that, and isn't that a beautiful song? It's such a beautiful song.
Yeah.
We have people here in the office that do sound code healing. So they come and they put their hands on your shoulders and do a certain tone, like, at a very just one tone,
Like,
and then they
ah, whatever it
yes,
might be.
and then they
Okay.
go up and down by what they can feel within the body to try to heal the body. So think of the old witch doctors or
Okay.
American Indian doctors. They would sing to try, whatever it was to keep the war going, or they did it over their people who were sick. Sound heals. If we
Yeah.
just could go back to our roots, if we got rid of the drug administration and it went back to using cold water to help people to break fevers, or using music to help raise the vibration so that the immune system would be better. You know,
Yeah.
drugs sell. Water and music doesn't sell like drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think, what do you think matters more? The words? Do you think the words matter in a song?
I don't think so, because I think definitely there are people that they love a tune because of the words. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking of Eminem right now, that 8 Mile song or whatever he
Yeah.
did. Yes, I mean, it really got to my heart. But it's usually something about the tune. And then as I'm listening to some of these old songs I listen to, and I go, what were those words even meaning? But um, some tell a story. And it's we've lost the ability to tell stories. When we were in wagon trains or cavemen or
Yeah.
whatever, we would sit around. Music was a part of it. Telling stories was a part of it. Instruments, whether it was drumming or guitar, it's
Yeah.
always been a part of us. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and think about that. I won't go into detail here, but Chuck Berry's Sweet 16 or something like that, about marrying an underage girl or being with an underage girl. Oy. Well, and also, I mean, what are those nursery rhymes? Wind about breaks, baby will fall.
Right, right.
Down will
And
come baby, cradle
Ring
up.
Around the Rosie was really about a disease, trying to stay away from getting probably a virus or whatever.
So
Ashes,
then,
ashes, we all fall down.
yeah, words don't matter.
No,
Because I tell you
no.
what, I probably went to sleep to that song once or twice.
Ring Around the Rosie.
Something, yeah.
Or
Uh,
my
uh,
baby,
yeah,
when the tree, yeah, the baby will fall and down will come
yeah.
baby.
Oh, that's comforting. I'm gonna go to bed now. Yeah.
The
So
two,
okay. So our bodies. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
oh, I was just say the two fears we're born with are fear of falling and fear of loud noises. So here's this song about falling, which it's almost a training session for babies to know, because moms are sometimes would go and down would come baby like this,
Yeah.
so they get the
Yeah.
sense of falling, and it's like,
Yep.
okay, face your fears, right? Face your
Yeah.
fears.
Yeah. Absolutely. Tell me
Yeah.
about your book.
The Facing Your Fears book.
Yeah.
Oh, it was something that just came about because I wanted to help people. Because I used to own a goals program, and I would watch people write their goals and then sabotage themselves. And
Yeah.
when I was in my 30s, I wrote down all these things like travel to Africa, study with witch doctors, run a marathon, do a triathlon, have children, all these things like that. And I went and did those things. I was like, jump out of airplanes. I mean, it was, for me, when I wrote
You
things
should
down,
really.
it meant I was going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
couldn't understand why other people were not doing it. So I started to listen, and I started to come up with chapters about, could this help you? And I was just coming up with ideas for groups. And I was running, I think I had 14 groups going at one time in companies and home or office here. And I said, this needs to be a book where I can just hand it out in a book. And so what
Yeah.
I did is every Sunday, I had to write one chapter, or I wasn't allowed in my head to eat breakfast. I could drink coffee, go for my run,
Oh
but
wow.
write a chapter. And my kids knew, stay away from mom on Sunday mornings because she's going to be like, and then I get
Yeah.
the chapter done and we could go play, but that's how I got the 52 chapters done. Yeah.
Okay. So am I hearing you right in the sense that the book is a help in a way, and how to write down your fears and conquer them?
Right. So it's a workbook, and it's 52 weeks of exercises that you do, or 52. I had a bank
Oh
president who did
wow.
like a couple of weeks, but it's exercises to do to help you to figure out why you might be sabotaging. It's what some unconscious thing that if you bring it into consciousness, you go, oh, that's what my dad said, and I bought into it, and it
Sure.
has ruined, not ruined, but run my life, and I don't
Yeah.
want it to run my life anymore.
Old
Yeah.
tapes. I tell
Okay.
you, yeah. There was I'm not going to get in. Well, again, well, I guess I will. I remember my dad, I was playing an acoustic guitar, and my dad made a snarky remark, which was, "Hey, do you think you could turn that down?"
Oh.
Well, it's acoustic, so no. And it took me a second to realize, oh, he's being a dick. At the time, I took it totally personal. Today, I can maybe say he's being funny, but whatever.
Or do you think he could have been stressed? I mean, you think about things you've said to your kids when you're under stress, and it was never about them being too loud or whatever. It was like, I have so much going on in here, I can't think, I can't hear myself think.
Hmm,
And
maybe.
people have been stressed. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's true. He's stressed. I think that's his life. um, so the goal is, so the workbook. So let's put this into perspective as what we're talking about. So the workbook. If I got that workbook, and my biggest fear was performing in front of a big crowd, this would give me some helpful steps on how to do
Right. 'Cause
that.
the things that I'm thinking about are that you're going to find out what really motivates you, because the first chapter is the answers lie within, and you answer all these questions about, if I died tomorrow, I'd be so sad that I didn't perform in front of a big group, you
Yeah,
know. And so it actually gets you to set goals in a backwards way, because you go, oh my gosh, I don't want to die, I want to see my kids get married, I want to dance at my grandchildren's wedding,
yeah,
things that you really want to do. I have a book to write. And then it's like, oh, I better get busy on these things if they're that important to me.
yeah,
Especially with the COVID thing. If we're going to die tomorrow, we have to start working on these things. But
yeah.
the other one is the affirmations and being your own coach. Like, that's what I see, Chris, for you, is that we have these gifts inside. You love music, and it's almost sad that we don't go share that with other people. If we're given the gifts of being able to play a
Sure.
musical instrument, I think it's a kind of a responsibility to say, I want to share this with whoever wants it. I mean, we're not going to force somebody on the street to do it, but if they come to you and they want help, you're going to do it.
Right.
And so you want to inspire. You have the personality style to go out and inspire others. So you want to go do that with music, with whatever our gifts are.
Yeah.
That's your personality. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and yours too. But I think honestly, I think every it's so funny. I heard this once, and I think it's really true. Hate and negativity and discomfort are learned.
What are they?
Learned.
Oh, yes,
They're
totally.
yeah. You know, and I think genuinely everybody, even I'm going to go that route. Even Trump, I think, wants to do good. I can't imagine what it would be, but I think that there's some part that he wants to be. So I just, yeah,
If you look at leaders that have come into more of a negative stance against people, they were abused as kids. Even Hitler, they found out, was molested and abused as a kid. And
sure,
so, right. And so if you're always trying to prove, hey, am I good enough? You can do things that look horrible to other people just to say, now do you love me? Now am I good enough? Or,
yeah,
and yes. And the prejudice that someone who would mock, a reporter that's disabled or whatever, you're right.
yeah,
That kind of thing is learned.
yeah,
It's learn to put women down, learn to put minorities down, it's learned behavior. And we had some of those. I'm sure when I look back at my life, I think, oh my goodness, I remember repeating something that my mom didn't like, and then I ended up not liking it. But now today, I love whatever that culture or person is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I just wish that people would be more like that. But it is what it is, and I guess at the end of the day, my job is to accept and learn from and be better than whatever that might look like.
So Chris, you said, what can we do?
Yeah.
Play your music, you play it with your heart and soul. You know, when we do things out of desire instead of fear, they have so much more energy. So my desire to, there are times when I want to go in the ocean, but it feels cold, but my desire is stronger than my fear of the cold, and I finally get in.
Sure.
Or yeah, my desire to do some really fun things, I have to go, okay, I just have to show courage and do this. And so every time you feel fear is a chance to show courage. And you go,
Right.
okay, I can show courage to do this. I can get up on that stage because it's going to help your daughter, your son, and
Sure.
their generations to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big reason why, I keep going to this 12-step program I have, because again, me unchecked is a bad thing. But if I can show them a father that's at least trying, well then, that's a good thing. So that kind of goes with what you're saying. So, okay, I have a big belief that, and I know you got to go because it's almost 3, and I got to go too, actually. I know that I feel like there are 3 very important things for longevity, for good longevity, right? And that's physical flexibility, being able to touch your toes, to stretch, not feel any pain, lots of water, and feeding the brain.
Oh, very
Well,
nice.
well, right? I mean, because if you keep using your brain over and over again, and if you keep drinking lots of water, all of your body parts will be well lubricated. And if you're flexible and able to do things and using your body all the time, um, I just think that that's going to benefit anybody and everybody. And I actually talked to a bunch of older people, like for instance, my mom. She's like 70 something years old, and she's a firecracker.
She's
You know,
gorgeous. I love her.
and
Yeah.
yeah, she's a lovely lady, and she's an absolute firecracker in the sense that she's quick-witted and out always doing exercise and always reading a book. Now, I talked to someone else who doesn't have her lifestyle but is the same age, and they're just not all there. They never read a book. They don't go outside because they don't like anybody really. And I think he was a janitor at a soda company. So can you speak on that? Is there anything you can share with me about
Yes,
that?
yeah. So it's very interesting because I walked across Spain 5 years ago with a backpack, and as I was walking, I would meet people from all different countries. And I remember walking next to this man, and I was saying, "How come you're doing the Camino? Walking 500 miles by yourself takes a certain kind of, I don't know, motivation."
Sure.
And he was talking about, I was not doing anything with my life. I was just watching TV. I realized my life was almost over, and he kind of had more down energy. And as I'm listening to him talk and I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, I really wonder how old this guy is. So I said, "How old are you?" And it turned out he was 10 years younger than I was. And, and I was just like thinking, I still want to do all these things in my life, but his energy and his participation in life was so restricted. I can't remember which country he was in, but you're right. We need this mental stimulation. We got to keep our bodies moving. The water
Right.
keeps things moving. It's very much like the neopeptides. Keep everything moving. Keep your
Yeah.
body hydrated, and I think flexibility and strength. You need both because you see older people who can't open a jar or can't go up and
Right.
down the stairs, and um, they've shown that as we're increasing oxygen. In fact, I was just reading a thing about now people are getting on these ventilators with COVID, and they're saying don't go on a ventilator because you want your lungs to be the strong part of you, and if that can get rid of it, it'll be so much better. So I'm like telling my kids, if I end up with this thing, don't put me on a ventilator. I know my lungs are strong. They will overcome this thing. And
Sure.
so it's very interesting what we're learning. Today is a time where we're pulling in and learning. And I think for you, you're in a time where you're ready to be that butterfly that's going to go out there and bring people in and say, this is what will help you. This music,
I
this song.
accept the word butterfly. I am wearing black, mind you, but I accept the word butterfly.
Well, butterfly, because we're in a cocoon right now. Cocoon, in a cocoon, the butterfly is
Okay.
digesting the caterpillar. It's digesting the caterpillar, trying to figure itself out, and then it flies. So you
Gotcha.
could be an eagle. You can be an eagle. Yeah.
Right there.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
my
There you go.
logo.
I didn't even read
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Too much ego. Too much ego.
Uh,
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for your time.
it was wonderful, Chris. It's always fun. And if you have other times that we want to do any of this, I'm here. I would
I
love
would
to do
love
it.
it. I would love it. Thank you so much.
All right.
And I'm going to